Do you ever feel like the ideas in your head just don't seem to be able to get onto the page the way you want them to? Do you ever suffer from writer's block? Do you have a hard time finding the motivation to write as much as you need to actually build an audience and grow a writing career? If you suffer from any of these problems, I'm going to talk about how to cure writer's block. I'm going to give you strategies and frameworks that will help you be able to form ideas and get them on the page faster so that you can have the career that you want. But before we dive into the topic, I want you to quickly subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the little notification bell, because you're going to get brand new videos that are going to walk you through the ins and outs of blogging. I teach things from building an audience on Medium and making money, starting your own blog. I'm going to be going into all sorts of topics in the future, so you're going to want to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so that you receive this excellent content. Okay, in this video, I'm going to keep it simple. I'll give you 3 simple frameworks that you can use to help cure writer's block, that you can use to be more motivated and productive while you write. The first thing that you need to understand is that it's going to be much easier for you to write articles, and not just write them, but write them quickly and articulate them better if you actually have a process that you use before you sit down to write. Too many aspiring writers who actually don't get enough writing done, they just kind of open the laptop and they just come up with whatever ideas they think they should write, and they wonder why they're getting writer's block. So when it comes to creating an outline, using mind maps, these strategies that I talk about, the more that you suffer from writer's block, the more upfront work you need to do to outline your work before you sit down to write. So for me, I have a very loose structure to the way that I map out my articles. At this point, I can just open up a computer and start writing because I've learned how to map these ideas out in my head. But that's because I've been spending a half decade practicing my writing. So I have a voice, I have a philosophy, I kind of know the ins and outs of my topic, so it's easier for me to have that intuitive process. But if you are just beginning, you need to come up with a process that works. I've talked about this in other videos. I go into more depth in some of my premium courses and email list items that you can check out below, but you really want to focus on a couple key areas. One of them being getting in the process of constantly generating ideas. I mention this idea basically in every video I shoot, and that's to make sure that you are writing down 10 headline ideas a day to keep that idea machine going, that you're always coming up with new article ideas. And then you want to put together a process for when you sit down to write those articles. So I keep it very simple. I use the process of creating a mind map, which is essentially brainstorming little bubbles underneath your main bubbles and then smaller bubbles underneath those bubbles. Map out what you want to put together in your essay. Now, if you're someone who particularly struggles with writer's block, you might want to go so far as to creating a full bullet pointed outline. So if you're someone who really struggles with writer's block, I would create the sort of outline where, let's say an essay has 3 main points, an introduction and a conclusion. I would go so far as to write down each of those 3 points, write down 3 bullet points underneath each bullet point, explain a little sentence or 2 underneath each bullet point, and then have an explainer for your introduction and conclusion. I've actually worked with a couple of top tier blogs when I was doing guest posts for them, and they would make me create an entire creative brief. So I wouldn't just have to outline the article, I'd have to fill in, the theme of the article, the outcomes the article was looking to achieve, resources that I was going to mention in the article. And they really did this extensive kind of creative brief, because the guest post I ended up writing would be very, very long. I think my longest guest post is almost 10,000 words. So they really wanted to map out the idea. And the more that you map out the idea beforehand, the higher your odds of not only coming up with article ideas that work well and a structure that works well, but being able to come up with good ideas that will lead to popular articles. A lot of people, a lot of aspiring writers, they fall too much in love with the idea of being this free-spirited artist. They kind of balk at formulaic routines and strategies. But because I learned these formulaic routines and strategies, I am now able to write in a much more versatile way, to whereas if I try to do it in the opposite direction and be super versatile to begin with, it would have been more difficult. So use a process. Focus on a process that works. I will link to resources that will teach you about certain processes and use them from start to finish, and you can really write blog posts that people will want to read, but most importantly, you'll actually finish them. And the second point I'll give you is, it's actually derived from a quote from Seth Godin, and he says that no one gets talker's block. So in the article where he has this quote, he talks about the idea that, you never get tripped up when you're trying to talk. You can just shoot the breeze. You naturally express yourself. You have a natural voice, natural way of saying things. Why would you then try to, get cute with your writing and have this esoteric, kind of flowery, pretentious voice when it comes to your writing? All these themes kind of tie together to the idea that writing success, at least the way that I've been able to accomplish it and the way I've seen other writers accomplish it, is by removing the pretentiousness. Just focus on the basic elements of what works. Write like you talk, write in a conversational voice. I'd like to think that I write like I talk. For those of you who actually follow my writing, you can let me know. But one of the number one compliments I get on my writing is people tell me my writing is very basic. And I take that as a compliment. I'm not trying to overcomplicate things. Actually, simplicity is the mark of genius, right? Ernest Hemingway, one of the most successful writers of all time, writes at like a 4th grade level. It's very kind of terse, straightforward language. Now, I'm not saying you have to write like that. If you're someone who naturally has a high vocabulary, if you're kind of a highfalutin person who talks like that, then write like that. But make sure that you're matching both of those things together. And the idea of talker's block, it's just an attitude as well as a technique. When you're trying to connect with people, people are the same in real life as they are behind a screen. When you're trying to communicate with them, you don't have to do anything all that much different to be a successful writer. So don't overcomplicate the process. Write like you talk. When you go through and you're sitting down, you quit putting so much pressure on yourself to be magical, to be this wordsmith, to be this person who's going to write the next great piece of American literature. The reason why I often kind of make fun of literary types or people who are overly concerned with kind of the artistic quality of their writing is it's because they get in their heads. Literary people get way deep inside of their own heads, and their perfectionism causes them not to get any writing done. Often there's like this correlation. It's like the more literary writers are, it's like the lower odds that they actually get any writing done because they're so perfectionist. They're so trapped in this idea of quality. They don't want to sell out. They don't want to write blog content. Well, you know what? This is a channel teaching you how to write via the means of writing blog content. And the way that blog content works is you keep things simple. You write like you talk. You have a structure to what you're going to put out. You have your basic points. You have your arguments that you're trying to make, and then you make them, and then you move on to the next thing. And if you learn to write this way, in this basic, simple way, you're going to be able to have more of that versatility in the future. Because I have this style, I can kind of up and down shift the level of complication that I want to add in my writing. But still to this day, I try to keep things simple. So write like you talk, keep it simple, and remember, you don't get creatively blocked when you're going about your normal life. Don't add any pressure and context to writing because it's not all that much different. And the last little tip I'll give you is another quote, derived from another quote at least, and it's from Jerry Seinfeld. And he says that writer's block is a made up, phony, BS excuse for not doing the work. And ladies and gentlemen, he is correct. A quick aside, there's actually a strategy attributed to Jerry Seinfeld, debatable on whether or not it's true, but it's called the chain strategy. And apparently he would write a joke every single day, and every time he wrote a joke, he would mark an X on his calendar, and he would keep marking X's on the calendar so as not to break the chain as it grew longer and longer. So that's kind of a nice little productivity technique to help you get momentum in your writing. But when it comes to writing, you just gotta stop making excuses for yourself. The thing with aspiring writers especially, they will send me all of these emails and they're asking me for advice, but they're really looking for like an excuse. They're really kind of trying to waste time and kind of mentally masturbate instead of just writing. And my friend, I'm sorry. There are a lot of frameworks actually that can help you become a better writer, but none of them do the writing for you. And you know, I write in self-improvement as well as writing for other writers, and I create video content in both niches, and the themes are similar. It's like if you want to know how to run a successful business, the blueprint is out there. Personal development strategies are out there, but no one can make you do the work to build a successful business. Building a writing career is a business, and you should treat it with the same level of respect and work ethic. And you know, you cure writer's block by forcing yourself to sit down and write, and having that framework where you're mapping out your ideas beforehand is going to help. But ultimately, the idea of writer's block really is BS. It's a story you're telling yourself. It's a narrative you're using to cover up the fact that you are just being lazy. You are letting your fear steal your dreams of being a writer. And it's really sad because I see people there who do have talent, but they're letting fear get in the way. And you know, there's no perfect remedy to fear. Obviously, fear and self-doubt hold us back in almost every arena of life, and they hold most people back, the vast majority of people, from reaching their dreams. I don't like to say this to be rude or mean, but in both spaces, I often tell people that only a small handful of you are gonna make it as a writer or as being successful in anything. The numbers are not high. Obviously, they're not a bunch of top tier 6-figure bloggers running around. So if you want to be one of those people, you have to understand that you are going to have to be the exception to the rule. You're going to have to understand that being successful as a writer takes an abnormal amount of effort. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's not going to be hard. It will be very hard. You're going to have to write a lot. You're going to have to write through the ups and downs. You're going to have to write when you don't feel like it. And you're going to have to stop making excuses for yourself. Nobody owes you their attention. You are not owed an audience. You are not owed success as a writer. You're definitely not owed an income as a writer. And writing is not a charity. It is a product just like anyone else offers, and you have to hone your skills and be able to create a better product over time, and you're never going to do that until you stop making excuses for yourself. I've created this channel to give you more than enough resources to help you get started, and I hope the emotion that I'm conveying behind these words gives you the motivation to start. Okay, those are 3 quick-hitting tips that are going to help you get over your writer's block. Sit your butt down in the chair and start to write. The next thing I want you to do is check out the description below. You're going to see 2 very important links. The first link is going to be a free 5-day course teaching you how to write, build an audience, and make money on the website called Medium.com. If you don't know what Medium is, it is one of the best websites for writers, and if you check out that link below, you will get a free course that will teach you how to be successful. For those of you who are ready to take things to the next level right now, I also have a link to my premium Flagship course, a paid product walking you through how to be successful on Medium, and that will go in even more depth than the free course. So check those resources out. Lastly, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, because it's going to help you get brand new videos on writing success the millisecond that they come out. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to hit the like button, please make sure to leave a comment. Leave me your 2 cents. If you have any other if you have any other ideas for videos, please let me know in the description below. There are going to be some videos popping up in front of your face right now. Make sure to check those out. Continue to engage, and I will see you on the next video.